Rev up your engines! There's a lot of myths about electric cars out there. So today I'm going to tell you the truth about electric cars and their batteries. I don't build them, I don't buy them, I don't break them, but I do fix them. So here's the absolute truth about electric vehicles, so you can make a wise choice yourself. Now you notice I said batteries, not battery, because as you look under this hood, this is the front trunk of an electric BMW, and if you take the stupid plastic piece off, that's a regular car battery. Needless to say, that tiny car battery does not drive the car. The bigger battery that's inside under the seats does not directly operate the car when you start it up. The engineers see that voltage is too high, too dangerous. So all electric cars I've ever seen have a regular small car battery. And what it does is when you turn the key on to start it, you push the start stop button, you'll see it says ready now. And what's happening is this: the 12-volt battery is sending signals to various relays, computer modules that check to see that everything is okay. Then it activates the circuitry so the large battery inside the car can now drive the vehicle. So just like a regular gasoline car, it's got a regular car battery, and if it goes bad, guess what? The electric car won't work. You still got a regular battery that you got to check every once in a while. Now granted, that's the cheap battery, right? That's a regular car type battery. And like every other normal car battery, they're only good for maybe 3-4 years. You got to check them and replace them. So it's real important if you got an electric car to test this battery every once in a while, because if it's going out, you want to change it sooner than later. You don't want to get stranded somewhere. Now, since these electric cars don't have gasoline motors with an alternator that runs off of a fan belt to charge the battery, how the heck does this little battery get charged? Well, it gets charged by the big battery. There's power inverters that change the hundreds of volts of the big battery into the 12 volts of the little battery. There's no other way of doing it. It's got to use the battery power that's in there. And of course, the main worry of people with electric cars is, how long is that electric battery going to last, and how much is it going to cost to replace? Well, this is a BMW, 9 years old, but it's only got 20-something thousand miles on it. And this battery is starting to go. It's lost a bit of its range. Can't go as far as it used to go. For example, I picked this up 25 miles away. I drove it here. I had 31 miles of range left. That means 56 miles of range the way I was driving. So obviously the battery's starting to wear out. They lose their range as time goes on. Now, this is a BMW, so their electric batteries, as you can imagine, are super expensive. Now the battery itself is inside under the seats and stuff. It's like a 4.5-hour job for a mechanic to replace the battery. So not totally insane, but if you're paying BMW labor, that's going to be what, like $700 labor. Well, you might think, well, that's a lot to change the battery. I can change mine in my regular car in 5 minutes. Well, that's just the tip of the iceberg, baby. This BMW large electric battery is actually a bunch of different modules bolted together to make one big battery. Now, you can buy separate modules, right? But let's say you want to get a new one to keep the range up and change everything out. It's going to cost you between 18 and 20 grand to do it on this BMW if you want to use new parts. Yeah, I'm not making that up. Of course, that's more than a car's worth. Now, it's a 9-year-old BMW, right? And then I know people are going to say, but Scotty, you can get remanufactured batteries, la, la, la. Well, if you have any idea what a remanufactured battery is, on one of these, here's what it is. They take the battery out, and then you can use a device. If you're lucky enough to find a good mechanic, there aren't that many that know how to use this stuff, but if you do, you can use this machine, they can test every cell in the battery. Then you can replace the bad cells, or in this case, you can replace the bad module. And then you say that's a remanufactured battery. But let's say that electric car is 10 years old. That means all the old parts of the battery are still 10 years old. Maybe they changed 1/4 of it. How long do you think that's going to last? It's going to break down too, right? Certainly isn't going to last the 10 years that the original one lasted. And of course, if you're a real cheapskate, you can get a used one. I looked online, you could get used batteries for this BMW between $2,500 and $5,500, right? But that's used. Total pot luck. You got no idea how long that thing's gonna last, right? If you're a riverboat gambler and you're thinking about buying a used electric vehicle, you gotta watch the rest of this. You have to pay a guy like me to turn on his fancy machine. Maxi Ultra with the EV package added onto it for electric vehicles. All electric cars are pretty complicated. You think, oh, there's a battery and a motor, all kinds of computer controller, inverters. You need an honest opinion. Let's say you buy this thing and then you find out 6 months later you need a battery and it's going to cost you 19, 20 grand. You're going to wish you didn't buy the stupid thing. So you got to check it out like this. Luckily for us here, the BMWs at least still have an OBD port. It just plugs in like a regular car. There, it's plugged in. So we can do diagnostics on this car. But realize this, most Teslas, they do not have an OBD port. So you can't plug a regular OBD thing in it. You need adapters, all kinds of stuff. Kind of shows that old Elon's kind of a scumbag. He doesn't want people getting the information to fix the cars outside of his own range of dealerships so they can rip you off when they fix the cars. At least this has a regular OBD port for diagnosis. The correct information, it's a BMW i3 2015. This is the base model, the cheaper one. It was still 40-something grand new. But the fancier ones have what are called range extenders. So there's a BMW 2-cylinder motorcycle engine in a trunk and like a 2-gallon gas tank. So when you run out of electricity, that motor turns on, runs a generator, and you still have full power. You can probably go another 90 or 100 miles. I'm checking this thing out for somebody who wants to buy a used electric car. Now we're going to do all the scanning here. Engine digital motor electronic has a bunch of codes, and they're the worst things on earth. They're intermittent codes. If there's one thing that's worse than finding an intermittent problem in any car, it's finding an intermittent problem in the electronics of a car. If somebody was going to buy this car, and I got these codes, power management, 12-volt battery not being charged intermittently, I would tell them under no circumstances buy this car. Walk. Look for something else. Rat's nest of electronic problems that are intermittent now. But hey, it's going to be 10 years old at the end of the year. You want to troubleshoot this? Now with this Autel, I can troubleshoot it. Parts on these things are a fortune. You saw what the batteries cost. Well, everything else costs a fortune too. There's more codes. Body control. Body domain controller. Automatic air circulation control sensor invalid. And then it has AC charging or DC charging. Communication fault with the charging cable. And that's a permanent code. The headlight unit has problems. Internal control fault of the main door. Reduction in brightness because it's getting too hot. Integrated automatic heating and AC. Shut-off valve of heat pump. So the HVAC system, heating, ventilation, and air conditioning system is acting up. Now, the parts for the air conditioning systems are expensive. For example, let's say you got to replace the compressor on this thing. Not having a motor to run the air conditioning compressor with the fan belt, it's a completely electronic high voltage air conditioning compressor. And they cost $2,183. Of course, it could be worse. This could be a Tesla. Got on the road, just had his Tesla compressor replaced because it broke and it was out of warranty. And it cost them $3,800 to replace the AC compressor and get the system working again. Now, they don't make this anymore, but the last year they sold them in 2022. Some of them had almost twice the range because they put a battery that was twice the size. This is a rather small battery. And of course, like I said, if you really were going to buy one of these, you'd have to buy the fancy one, not this cheap base model, but the one that has a range extender with a gasoline motor in the back that runs a generator, so then you'll never be stranded. Well, let's say you're seriously considering buying an electric car. Well, you're going to have to really install at least one of these level 2 chargers in your house. Because as you're going to see, this BMW comes with a charger. But this is a level 1. And when you open the charger up here, plug this baby in, guess what? Even though this car is a tiny battery and has a range now of about 70 miles or so, this charger plugged into your 110 volts is going to take 10 hours to charge it up. And of course, if you have a battery that's twice the size as the later ones, you're bumping that up to 20 hours to charge up. So you need a level 2 charger. This is an Autel that I got. It was like $450. But realize I was lucky here because I bought this house from a guy who had an electric car. So he already paid to have the 220 volt receptacle that it plugs into installed on the house. It cost him almost $3 grand to get that done because it's got to be done right. And there's the wire and it goes up. Then it goes here in a garage. Then it goes into the cellar. Down we go. We'll turn this light on. And there's my studio. Check it out. I'm getting ready for a lot of car talk. There's the background. And we'll go back. We're still going under the house. And we'll turn that light on. We're now in the cellar where the washing machine is running. And this is where the main power of the house comes. The pole's behind there. And here's the main fuse box. Now, of course, all this depends on where your power comes in the house. Mine actually comes on the back side. So if it was on the front side, it'd be no big deal to run a charger. But the charger has to go off your main circuit, your main power coming in. This is on the back of the house. I'm not going to run one on the outside and park my car in my beautiful grass. So if I had to pay for the installation, They'd have to tear the walls apart. So all the electricity was done when they were ripping the house apart anyways. If I would pay somebody today running, I guarantee it'd be a lot more than $3 grand because they'd have to tear it all apart. This was done while the house was torn apart. So you might think, no big deal. Hey, this nice hotel charger, $455, not a bad deal, right? But find out where your power supply is and how far out you have to move it and what you have to tear apart in the house to make it work. And you'll probably find out it's going to cost you thousands and thousands of dollars. Now, I, for one, would not charge an electric car battery inside the garage. What if it started on fire and burned my house down, right? That's the main reason. Big guy put the plug on the outside, so he can just put the car here. If something happens, at least the house isn't going to burn down. Well, hopefully it won't. But of course, realize another thing about electric cars and electric batteries. You get a Tesla battery, okay? It is 5 times the size of this one. It takes 5 times as long to charge it up. If you plugged it in with one of those 110 volt, it would take days to charge it up fully. And even with a level 2, it could easily take 8-9 hours to fully charge a Model S when you're using the 220 volts. So just like the saying, the bigger they are, the harder they fall. Well, the bigger the car batteries are, the more they weigh and the longer it takes to charge them up. So now you know a little bit more about electric cars and the electric batteries that power them. Personally, I feel they don't have the technology out right yet. Who knows, maybe they'll make solid state batteries one day. There's still the problem of infrastructure. Where's the electricity coming from? Where are they going to generate it? And then how are they going to transfer it here? Our electrical grid system is in disarray in this country. Our lines couldn't take all that power to blow the transformers on. My suggestion to people who really want to try an electric vehicle, lease it. I met a guy at the Denver airport, right? He was a businessman. He was renting a Tesla. I said, well, what are you renting it for? He says, well, I got one at home. I said, what'd you pay for it? The guy says, I didn't. I'm leasing it. He says, I'm not going to buy this new technology. Who knows if it'll even work? I don't want to fix it. I'm just leasing the thing. So if you really got to get an electric vehicle, hey, why not lease one? You will have to put a level 2 charger. See what an electrician's going to charge to put one in your house. You'll have to do that. But lease it. Don't buy it. The way they stand today, not a viable thing to buy an electric car economically. You're going to lose your shirt. So if you never want to miss another one of my new car repair videos, remember to ring that bell.